now, without LeBron, Lakers are strong.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboys
didn't win. I don't know, Jack. It's a big decision.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying space.
Pittsburgh at Buffalo.
Thank you. I thought I was right. So anyway,
yeah, Mac, you're really interested in these playoffs.
so
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show here on your Hump Day. Wednesday made it through the half the week anyway, and we're ready to get going today here on the Spike Sports. Jack should be in hopefully in a few minutes. There he comes. As I speak of the devil, he pops in. Let's bring up Jack. And let's bring him in. Come on, Jack.
Hey, Mac, how you doing?
Good. How you doing today, buddy?
Genuine good morning, Mac.
Yes,
Good
yes,
morning.
it is. It is. Good morning to everyone out there, too. Jack, of course, we're going to start off with the NBA playoffs as both the Nuggets and the Knicks win last night. We'll start with the Knicks. They went 3-2 at home, 121-91. They controlled the boards again. That's normally how they win these games. McBride came off the bench. I've been pleading almost with Thibodeau to get him on there. He comes out, he shoots and makes 17 points. And Brunson with 40 points, 44 to be exact, in the game, making an acrobatic shot while falling down to the side. Everything was going in for him. And one thing that I appreciated this game, Jack, was they didn't let them jump on, when they were going up to block shots, jump on Brunson's feet. That's what they were doing last game because we know he has a hurt ankle. And the last game, Indiana was really jumping up on their feet. And this time, the Knicks weren't having anything to do with it as they started pushing on back anybody that was covering Brunson trying to attempt that.
Yeah, I think sometimes we tend to overanalyze certain games, but the Knicks' path to victory was just their energy level. They had such a greater energy level than the Indiana Pacers, and we keep focusing on the Knicks being located in the New York area. But what about focusing on the Pacers? Where were they last night? It seemed like they were disinterested. They looked like they'd make little runs from time to time. They were down 15 points halftime. And then in the blink of an eye in the second half, they cut it to 7. But whenever it seemed like the Pacers were going to make a serious run, someone stepped up for the Knicks, would hit a 3-point shot, then they'd follow up with another basket. And it always kept Indiana at bay. I think they got to a certain point in the second half where Indiana was resigned to losing the game, the way it looked to me, just their energy level. They were out of sync. In the first few games, the first 5 games of the series, the first 4 games, they were setting up for 3-point shots. They'd be wide open. And it wasn't the same ball movement with the Pacers. And the Knicks would beat them to the rebounds off the boards. I mean, there'd be a lot of contact going on in this series. Officials really have their hands full. I don't understand some of the calls. I mean, we hear the technical term, he had his right foot in the bucket, so it's not a charge. I mean, we've watched basketball long enough, Mac, to know what a charge is and what's not a charge. And we know something, maybe there should be a new rule. If you're not sure whether it's a charge or not, and you're 50-50 and it could go either way and you're an official, just let the play itself out. Don't make a call altogether unless you're sure.
Well, it seems like in the NBA, different from college, they'll call traveling, they'll call double dribble, they'll call charges a lot more. In the NBA, they just kind of let them play, especially in the playoffs. And I guess it's good for the game to let the players play, but a lot of times it affects the game. And I don't know what the answer is. Jack, I don't know if the NBA's got to sit down with the officials in the offseason and say, listen, this is what this is, and this is how it's going to be called. I don't know if you can do that or not.
Yeah, right. But Exactly. But getting back to the game, Brunson took 35 shots, far more than anyone else. And the Knicks are a team that's basically built around him. I understand great contributions from Josh Hart. No one brings more energy to the Knicks than Josh Hart. The way he crashes the boards, DiVincenzo, and on and on. Hartenstein. I mean, the energy level's phenomenal, but it's Brunson who's the guy, and you kind of wonder if they did have another acquisition that would be kind of on a par with him, like a Devin Booker, someone like that going forward, would he lose a lot? I mean, it's got to be Brunson's show. He's got to take over. He's not a selfish player. He realizes he's helping the team if he shoots a lot more. And it's phenomenal the way he takes the ball to the basket. I mean, he's a pretty short guy, Mac, but he manages to always get the ball over the defender. And he's having a type of year that if he could put a few years together like this in a row, hypothetically, we might have to look at him and compare him to some of the all-time great players. It wouldn't make sense to do it now. It would be too much of a reach because he's only on a run this season. But look at his numbers, what he's doing. I mean, if you attach those numbers next to Michael Jordan, what Brunson is doing, people would be raving about MJ, how great he is. But because it's Jalen Brunson and he's just fully come into his own this year, we have to have a wait and see attitude. And it's hard to believe what we're seeing from him. But what we were talking about a moment ago, you'll have Hartenstein, kind of bumping back and forth. It would be debatable fouls, whether it should be called on him or not. And, Miles Turner at Indiana, Knicks have to do a little better job at defending him too. He had a little spurt yesterday that got the Pacers back in the game.
Yeah, listen, Indiana's they're no scrubs. So they're going to give you everything you got. They're going back to Indiana. I think they're playing Friday night, if I'm not mistaken. The Knicks I don't know if you're the Knicks, Jack, do you want to get this over with, or are you not worried? You're going back to New York for Game 7.
Of course you want to get it over with, Mac. I mean, you never want a seventh game. Anything could happen in the seventh game. You could outplay your opponent and the ball just won't bounce the right way. You could shoot it well, but for whatever crazy reason, the ball doesn't bounce your way. You never want it to get down to one game. It's really scary. But the Knicks know they have a cushion now. They know they have a cushion. If they lose Game 6, they'll have Game 7. But it's pretty advisable they get it over in Game 6 in Indiana. It's going to be a dogfight. It's not going to be anything like yesterday's game. And we see with teams the way we could have like a sudden reversal. I mean, Indiana blows the Knicks out in Game 4. So you're saying, oh, they have all the momentum. Now the Knicks blow Indiana out in Game 5. Don't think for a moment that they have the momentum over Indiana. Indiana's going to forget this game. They're going to come focused. They already beat the Knicks twice in the series. They know they could beat them. In the first 2 games they lost, those were really tough games for the Knicks. So Indiana's going to come ready to force a 7th game. And I think they're going to get back to what they're doing best, setting up their perimeter shooting.
Yeah, they have to do that. They can't go underneath the boards with Knicks. They did one game, but you're not going to do that every game with the Knicks. Mitch Robinson had his surgery on his ankle. He's been hurt a couple of years now, Jack. I mean, what do you do with Mitch Robinson? Is this going to be trade bait? I know I heard rumors about it before. If he gets healthy again, his ankle's better, do they trade him and maybe put a package together to get that other player you were talking about?
Well, you're not going to get a package for Mitch Robinson. If he's damaged goods, who's going to give a package for him?
No, I mean
I think you absolutely keep him if you could fit him in under the cap. He's a darn good player, but he's got to be on the court. That's the whole problem involved. And you just hope going forward he can stay on the court. What are his injuries a result of? You have to look at a chronic type injuries. I mean, Mitch Robinson would have the most value if you traded him as a fill-in for contender. I mean, that he'd have the most value for a team like that. But what you would get back in return, I just can't see making any type of deal for Mitch Robinson. You want him on the team. I mean, you combine him with Hartenstein. You have a couple of big men over there, and you really control the boards. if you're playing a very physical team.
Yeah, and Mitch Robinson got hurt when Embiid pulled him back down when he was going for the shot, rolled on top of his ankle. And we talked about Embiid being a little bit of a dirty player before, but that's really what that spurred this injury that now he's going to get surgery on. So,
well, I'm not sure if that's it, but if that's it, the NBA should really be investigating what Embiid did and not let him get away with it. That was pretty flagrant in the Sixers and Knicks series, the way when Robinson went up. If Embiid's looking to foul him, you don't grab a guy's leg when he's in the air. I mean, it's very dangerous. It was a dirty play by Embiid. I don't want to put a spin on it any other way. I don't want to necessarily label Embiid a dirty player. Sometimes you get frustrated. You commit certain fouls. You should. I don't think Embiid has quite gotten into the territory of being a dirty player, but he's on the cusp. He came down with his hand around Brunson's face, kind of like a karate chop, in that series as well. So it was like more than one play that involved Embiid that seemed pretty flagrant. There's a way of making it look, Mac, like you're not really committing a flagrant foul when you really are, when you really could hurt someone, but you make it look a certain way, like, oh, I was intending to do this and that. Well, when you really were intending to maybe do a lot more. Not to say that Embiid wanted to hurt Robinson. I'm not saying that for a moment. But you don't grab a guy's leg when he's in the air. I mean, you have to have some common sense to realize the type of injury you could cause.
Agree. Of course, we're not going to see a new Obi or Randall in this series. If the Knicks need him, if they get by Pacers and go to play the Celtics, do either one of these go, Jack?
I'm not sure that Anunoby wouldn't be back for a seventh game. I'm not that sure at all. His is the type of injury that they didn't say he's going to be out for an extended period of time. It's like a game-to-game type injury. As far as Randall goes, very interesting. Let's say Randall all of a sudden was healthy. I mean, with the chemistry the Knicks have, obviously Randall would be an asset to the Knicks because he potentially could be an impact player, especially if Brunson is having an off game. He would be the one guy who could step up and fill the void for Brunson having an off game more than anyone on that team, including Josh Hart, because Randall can score, he can rebound. But we'll see how Thibodeau gets him in. And even if Randall's ready to go, he hasn't played a while. You got to get in game shape. You're not going to throw him in for, 32 minutes suddenly. And in these games are very, very important, especially the Indiana series. Yeah, but he's not going to be back for the Indiana series. No. But if somehow the Knicks get to the NBA Finals, hypothetically, and Randall's ready to play, I mean, the way you would get him back into action would be in the beginning of a series, more likely, a long series. I don't think you get him back in an elimination game suddenly, unless you're just going to play him a few minutes at the end of the game on certain spots where you take a chance. Because, listen, the point is Randall is the second best player on that team. Yeah. And then when you have the second best player on your team, even though you talk about team chemistry, don't tell me it doesn't fit in. But then again, Mac, Kyrie Irving's the second best player on the Dallas Mavericks next to Luka. He's had a couple of 9-point games.
Yeah, I was just going to talk
9-point games.
I was going to talk about that, Jack.
Yeah.
Of course, Denver, they beat T-Wolves 112-97. T-Wolves let them back in the game, in the series, in that third game, and the Nuggets are just rolling now. Jokic with 40 points, playing like the MVP of the league. Of course, his assists are unbelievable for a big guy. I was going to say, Irvin, has this been part of his past, Jack, when it becomes in the playoffs or something where he comes up short, or is this brand new this year?
Who are you talking about?
Kyrie.
Who? Kyrie.
Yes.
Oh, you're just talking about the Timberwolves. Are we on the Mavericks?
Okay. Yeah, I said that the Timberwolves let him back in, but Kyrie mentioned the 2 9-point games.
All
Does
right,
he-
we talk about the Maverick OKC series. Look, Luka's played well in the losses. Okay, he's played well in the losses. Luka is the star of that team. Don't make any mistake about it. It's not like co-stars Luka and Kyrie even, but that's the billing they would be given. Mac, if it was a movie, Luka's name would be in big letters as the star. Kyrie's name would be in big letters too, but a little smaller than Luka's underneath. But Luka knows he can't win a championship unless Kyrie steps up and plays like a star. And Kyrie, he's like James Harden in a way, his teammate on the Nets for a little while. He'll have a really good game, then take a game off, then maybe have a game or two good, then have a couple of games off. This was a really big game for the Mavs. Now it's 2-2 and they're going to OKC. They would have had a 3-1 lead. They would have been in a commanding position. They were well up at halftime, game 4 against OKC, and OKC stole it from them at the end of the game. I mean, and where was Kyrie? Someone had to step up, and Kyrie hasn't quite stepped up. But in fairness to Kyrie, he's played hard this year, and at least it seems like his attitude's been okay. He's been controversy free. Maybe, just maybe, we're overrating Kyrie just a little bit, because he does have certain great games where we think he's one of the better players in the NBA, but the consistency sometimes is just lagging a little bit. When Luka's out of the lineup, he puts up really good numbers. But if you're a star, 2 9-point games this series, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's crazy. Let's jump to the MLB. Ohtani drama is still in the news. I don't know if you remember NBA referee Tim McGotti or Don.
The crook. You're talking about the crook.
Yes.
What about him?
Well, he says Ohtani had to know about Matsuura's gambling addiction, almost $13,000 per bet. The former ref was in jail, of course, early in the 2000s for betting on games. Says it was smart of the MLB to kind of push this under the rug as fast as they could. Let me finish. So anyway, listen, I know the guy went to jail for what he did, but he does know about the gambling circuit. And I would imagine, we can say what we want. We can say, Ohtani had nothing to do with, which is true. I believe he didn't, but he did know of this. There's no way he didn't know this guy was making bets on the side and betting that much as that money's coming out of his account, Jack.
Well, first up, Tim Doherty, he affected the Sacramento King LA Lakers series. The Sacramento Kings may have been deprived of being NBA champions because of this referee's dishonesty, okay? They may have won that series. There's a good chance they would have won that series. In my personal opinion, they would have won the series if it wasn't for the fixing of this particular referee, okay? And so think of all the damage he caused to the Sacramento King players, those who have never won an NBA championship, the Chris Webbers, Bibby on the team, etc., what he did to them. And he's getting up now talking like he's an expert. When he was betting, it was many years ago, betting has become so much more sophisticated. I just finished reading a book on Pete Rose that just came out. And it talked about all his betting, the way when he bet in the past on baseball and other sports, you could do it in a way when no one would find out. But in this day and age, Mac, it is so sophisticated. They have so many ways to catch somebody that if Ohtani was involved, there was a way to find out. The feds could find out. Major League Baseball can find out. Obviously, Major League Baseball wants Ohtani to be clean. They don't want to find anything. We understand that. But the feds make a career sometimes on cases like this, catching someone. And no matter how much of an icon someone is, you do something dishonest, you're going to crash. People are going to suddenly turn against you. Ohtani's popularity could turn on a dime. I mean, we see it in other ways, shape, and forms. When Derek Jeter was a free agent late in his career, the Yankees tried to create a narrative that he was selfish while he was a free agent. Oh, we're offering $15 million a year. The fans, being as fickle and gullible as they are, and not always smart, started portraying Jeter as being the villain until he signed. They just don't get it. So if an iconic player like Jeter, who had the same popularity as Ohtani has now, if they could turn on him quickly, his own fan base, the Yankee fans, think of how everyone in baseball would turn on Ohtani, on a dime if anything could be found.
So when the Yankees are playing the Minnesota, that this is the series they're playing upcoming. They say that the Judge and Soto and Stanton have among the fastest bats in the MLB. I mean, there's a new stat kind of thing they're using. I should think they should just stay with home runs, averages, and RBIs. But that's my opinion. One thing
Mac, you get up. You go from the Minnesota Timberwolves. You say something very quick and you gloss over it, where I don't even have time to comment.
What Timberwolves?
It's like so unimportant to you, the Nugget Timberwolves series.
What?
Okay,
Timberwolves?
this is what happens. And then you move. And if I cut in, you get annoyed. You say you have material.
We're done talking about the Timberwolves. I don't care about the Timberwolves.
I never got started talking about the Timberwolves.
We're already 20 minutes into the show, Jack, and I don't want to talk about the Timberwolves anymore. I want to talk about things that are local and that I'm interested in.
Minnesota Twins now.
Right.
That's
what makes the show go. What I'm interested in and that you're not. That's why we have such a great relationship. Anyway, the Yankees, I think, Jack, have been lucky with Lewis Gill. This guy has been a great surprise, only giving up one run in the last 18 2/3 inning. He has a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. What?
Who are we talking about?
Lewis Gill of the New York Yankees.
Lewis Gill, right. Where I'm thinking of Clay Holmes. That's what threw me off. I want to apologize.
Okay.
Clay Holmes has an ERA of 0. When you said one run, I'm thinking, no, Clay Holmes didn't give up a run this year.
Right.
But Lewis Gill, you're right.
One run in the last 18 2/3 innings. He has a 98-mile fastball, a 93-mile-per-hour changeup. Is Lewis Gill, Jack, the mid-reliever we're looking for to get to Clay Holmes? Is this how it's going to be set up?
Let's wait and see with Lewis Gill. Let's wait and see. You need a body of work, Mac. You need more than 18, 20 innings. When someone has done it really a good part of the season, you could start becoming a believer. How many times have we seen the Yankees get relievers for short periods of time? They're looking really good. But we love what we see out of Lewis Gill right now. We really do. And same thing with Clay Holmes as the closer. He's been the best closer in baseball this year, the best. And I was against him being the closer. I wanted him to be the middle reliever. I wanted the Yankees to sign Josh Hader to be the closer. I still feel that way long term. But if Clay Holmes can do this for the season and be a dominant closer for a whole season, then I'm a believer. Then he's got to be the closer, moving forward.
Well, the New York Mets are looking to maybe not signing their big first baseman now because
Alonso.
Yeah, he rejected the original offer in the preseason, which would have made him the third highest paid first baseman in the MLB behind Freddie Freeman.
Did they give him an offer, Mac?
Yes, 17.
No, I'm not doubting. If you're telling me, they gave him an offer. Yeah. As I remember, the GM of the Mets, David Stern, said they're not going to really negotiate with Pete Alonso. They'll speak with him. They weren't planning on trading him because I think they thought they were going to be contenders and they would see if they could sign him at the end of the season because his agent is Scott Boras.
Right.
And
he was offered. I don't care about Boras horse right now. He was offered 7 years, $128 million contract. This was in the beginning of the season before the season started in the offseason. That would have made him a Met for life. He would have been the third highest paid first baseman behind Freeman and behind Bryce Harper. And now with the Mets, they just say, they're below 500 now. They're an average team. They're the best. They're the third best in their division. So now they're stuck. It looks like they might have to trade him.
Wait, they offered him how much?
It was a 7-year, $128 million contract.
So they basically offered him, correct me if my math is wrong, a little over $18 million a year. Okay, 18 times 5 is 90 at 20.
7 years, $128 million. Yeah, you're close. I mean, that's close.
Right, a little over 18 million. Yeah. It's on the market value for someone like Pete Alonso. You think about a contract like that, Mac. A player like Pete Alonso has to think very seriously about it, because if Pete Alonso has a big year, he's going to be commanding, in the $25 to $30 million range, for that amount. There's a team that might be paying him $30 million a year, really. And so if you want to look at it that way, that would be $210 million for 7 years that he could get, as opposed to 126. The problem with a player like Pete Alonso that scares me a little bit, what happens if he really crashes, has a terrible year? A team is going to sign him as a free agent in the offseason, maybe give him a 1-year deal for 12 to 15 million. He'll be able to get that. And let's say he has a bad year the following year, he's no longer that good of a player. It's possible he could leave close to 100 million on the table. And you think of the lifetime security. But in all honesty, 18 million a year, a little over 18 million a year, doesn't quite do it. It really is on the market value. If I'm Alonso's agent, I sit down with him and I tell him, look, Pete, if you really have a good year, you're going to do better than that. The question is, how much better? What would teams pay for Pete Alonso exactly?
To me, first base, I mean, you got to have a good first baseman, but it's not the most important fielder on your team, right? He's got to be able to play a good first, be able to handle the ball thrown to him. He's not a shortstop. He's not a center fielder. He's not a pitcher. And to me, that's about what Pete Alonso deserves. I mean, what kind of year he had a decent year last year? Nothing. He wasn't hitting 50 home runs again. So, I mean, listen, you got to realize what your importance is, I think, as a player. I don't care what your agent tells you. What kind of position are you playing? And to me, as a first baseman, 18 million a year is not bad. Now, if you have a good year, then maybe you renegotiate. Maybe there's an opt-out clause.
There's no renegotiating. Mac, get out of here.
Try to
renegotiate. You have a contract. You don't.
I understand what you're saying. I'm saying if he has a great year, maybe they'll listen to him. Maybe Cohen listens to him. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Once you make the deal, you make the deal, Mac. You don't renegotiate. What's he going to renegotiate? It's
after I don't know what the contract would be. Maybe there's opt-outs. I don't know, Jack. I'm just stating that if there is a break in his contract, say he gets an opt-out after 2 years, which a lot of players do now. Now it's time to renegotiate, right? So this is all I'm saying. So if that happened, then I can see it. All I know is Pete Alonso came in his rookie year. They thought he was going to be the next whatever for the Mets, and he's not. It's just the way it is. So,
but consider this too, Mac. If you're the Mets, it's very important to have iconic players in the organization.
Agreed.
And Alonso is trending towards, certain records like home run record, to this, to that. You kind of like if he could be a career Met. I understand what you're saying. Maybe that's an answer. You sign that contract, and now you're guaranteed that security, and you have opt-outs. So the opt-outs will favor him. If he has a really big year, he'll figure, I can opt out. I could get at least this money from another team. But it's
and if he has
it's a little on the market value, Mac, under $20 million a year. Jeff McNeil, for example, he signed a couple of years ago, he signed a $50 million contract that was basically going to be for 4 years, and it was actually $63.5 million for 5 years. But the Mets have the opt out before the 5th year. So, and as it turns out, what team would actually pay them more money? And the same with Alonso. Freddie Freeman, when he became a free agent and left the Atlanta Braves, he got $28 million a year from the Dodgers, like a 5-year deal for that. So, and Freddie Freeman is a better player than Pete Alonso.
Agree.
So,
and I think Bryce Harper's a lot better player than Pete Alonso. So,
Bryce Harper signed a 13-year deal, $330 million. And he has 8 years left. And can you believe his agent, Scott Boras, wants an extension, saying, he wants to finish his career. So, Phil, you got 8 years left, guy. Don't give me that.
That's
the only way I would consider reworking Bryce Harper's contract to an extent. The only way, okay, is if I'm the Phillies and I was willing to give him an opt-out, and he refused the opt-out because he wanted to show he wanted to be a Philly for his career, I would say, look, maybe I'll work along with you. You could have gotten an opt-out out of us before when we negotiated, but you were really emotional about wanting to be a Philly. Let's see what we could maybe do. Or if the Phillies win the World Series, I might reward him an extension. But, he signed for the $330 million was a record of total money at the time.
Jack, how you fix this is real simple to me. In the beginning there, you sit down, you lay down some incentives for him, right? You say, if you get this many home runs, if your batting average is this high, then we'll pay a little bit. I'm just saying, Jack, that's one way that you could possibly.
What about this? What about the agent and the player? Agents and players sitting down with teams saying, okay, if our guy doesn't do this or that, we'll give you X amount of money back as an incentive for the team to give them a big contract. It doesn't work that way, Mac.
That's not going to happen.
Mac, you're the same guy. Judge would have left $146.5 million on the table had you been his agent.
Right. And he would have been happy about it too when I got done with it. In football, Jared Goff signs a $212 million contract, $170 million guaranteed. That's 50-something million a year. Is Jared Goff worth that, Jack?
No, of course not. But he's a good quarterback. He's not going to flop. Okay? He's going to be good going forward, but that's all he's going to be is good. He's not going to be one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, and they're paying him. He's the highest paid QB in the NFL now with this contract. He doesn't deserve to be. Jared Goff is a pretty good quarterback,
Very good,
solid quarterback. And it's going to, maybe you could say he's very, very good, but he's not exceptional, Mac. He's not, let's forget Patrick Mahomes. He's not close to being on that level. He's not as good as a Josh Allen. He's not as good as Justin Herbert if Justin Herbert regains his form. He's just a very good quarterback, but they love him in Detroit.
Yeah, too.
They love
but
him
Jack,
in
you
Detroit.
you also got to realize Josh Allen is Josh Allen because he has to be Josh Allen, right? That guy has to run to make that team work, has to take chances. Lamar Jackson's because of this. This is all systematic with quarterbacks, right? Jared Goff don't have to do that. He has to be accurate. He has to make throws. He has to make decisions on the field. I'm not saying he's worth, I know he's not worth 50 whatever million a year, and he shouldn't be the highest paid quarterback in the league. Bar none. I agree with everything you said there. Is he better than Dak Prescott?
I was just thinking of that. You could put him on a level of close to Dak Prescott. I'd put him a little below Dak Prescott, but before the year's out, maybe he passes Dak Prescott. Let's see how the year plays out. But if you ask me at this moment, Dak Prescott is a little ahead of Jared Goff. The Cowboys got eliminated in the playoffs. Dak Prescott was so-so. He wasn't bad in the playoff game, but he certainly didn't elevate his team. but he was really good during the regular season, and he's been pretty good the last.
I
Yeah,
agree.
well, the year before last, he was so. I don't want to overanalyze it, but
Has
Dak
he ever
Prescott
has he
is
ever
a
gone
little
to
ahead of
has he
Jared
ever
Goff
gone has
right
he
now.
ever gone has he ever gone to a Super Bowl?
No.
Has
Jared Goff went with the
Right.
Rams. But
Right.
okay, let me counter that. The Rams moved on from Jared Goff, who took them to the Super Bowl after one additional year,
Right.
because they did not feel he was the guy who could get them over the top. They felt he was
Right.
solid, he was good. Remember, the Patriots beat Jared Goff's Rams 13-3. That's all
Right.
he could get, 3 points in the Super Bowl.
I agree.
Tell
I
me
agree.
all you want about Belichick having great defenses, a measly 3 points. Elite
Agreed.
quarterbacks are rarely held to 3 points. But
So
Mac, they brought in Matthew Stafford,
Right.
and they won the Super Bowl. Had Jared Goff been the quarterback instead of Matthew Stafford against the Bengals, we don't know how it would have turned out, but maybe they don't win the Super Bowl.
I agree. But then you got to count the following year in the playoffs. They match up against Detroit, the Rams, and Matt Stafford. Who has the better game?
The Lions had the better team.
Yeah.
The Rams overachieved last year.
You could say that.
We
You could
expected
say that.
the Lions to have a good team last year, and they did. We did not expect the Rams to have a good team.
Right.
And
You could
the
still-
Rams
I'd
took it
agree.
as far, as they could go. Listen, Jared Goff is a good quarterback. Let's think of Kirk Cousins when we think of Jared Goff.
I was just going to bring him up.
Which is a good quarterback. A good quarterback.
He's better than Kirk Cousins. He's younger. Let's put it that way. He's younger
He's
than Kirk
younger.
Cousins.
He has more value maybe because of his age.
I
you
agree.
know.
Yes.
But I'm not sure he's better than Kirk Cousins. I think if you take both guys at their best, I might give a little edge to Cousins. I'm not sure, but they're pretty similar.
Right.
And can they win? And last year,
Yes.
Mac, against the 49ers, Lions have this big lead. It looks like they're going to win. The lead evaporates. It's not like Jared Goff rallied the team. They needed someone to step up as a leader.
Listen, I blame the defense for that. The defense, they were ahead. They should have won that game. Defense
They
let
should have.
them down. Yes.
Okay, that's fair enough to say. But sometimes someone has to step up on the offensive end, and they have to counter.
I
And
agree.
the
That's
49er
I mean,
defense tightened up on the Lions, and the Lions didn't quite respond in the second half.
to me, that's like saying it was Matt Ryan's fault the Patriots came back and beat him in the Super Bowl. It wasn't his fault. It was a coaching mistake. It was a defense that let the Patriots climb back in it. They should have ran the ball more instead of transferring the ball all over the field. That was a coaching error. I'm not saying that maybe it was a coaching error with Detroit too. Maybe they should have kept
coaching in that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's ironic in that Super Bowl, had the Falcons taken a knee late in the game, when they had a 7-point lead, they would have been lined up for field goal, and had they made it, game over.
Yeah, I agree.
That was the most phenomenal quarterbacking I ever saw, what Tom Brady did, because there wasn't any margin of error on any play. For 1 hour, Tom Brady was clearly the best quarterback to ever play. For 1 hour. I'm not talking about his career. For 1 hour,
you could argue that.
I can't imagine anyone doing what he did. He was in a crazy. It's like a player, Mac, an NBA player who hits 20 shots in a row from every angle and gets in the zone. And you might say, listen, for that sequence, he was the greatest to ever do it for that tiny sequence.
It's arguable. The only one I could maybe match up with that would be maybe Johnny Unitas against the Giants when they were behind and they knew Johnny Unitas was going to throw the ball and they just couldn't stop him. And the Giants had a real good defense at that time too.
Well, Johnny Unitas, the 58 title game, he just basically took him on a drive down the field, but this was much different.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
He could not make one mistake, without the game ending. One mistake, one incompletion, one this. I mean, the percentage-wise, they have these meters that tell you the percentage. I hate them, Mac. I hate them with a passion, but I remember them after the game. and the odds of the Falcons winning were up to like 99.7 or something like that, which is crazy. Meaning it's over. It's virtually impossible for the Patriots to win. Yet the percentage they somehow won it. I don't think we'll ever see anything quite like that again. The comeback the Patriots made against the Falcons at the end of the game.
Not a half like that, Jack. I agree with you there. And speaking
but can I just say one thing, Mac? When a team is falling apart, any NFL team, someone has got to rally them. Someone has to step up. It doesn't necessarily have to be a quarterback, but it's got to be one of their impact players. So when you say, well, it's not Matt Ryan's fault, Matt Ryan could have yelled at guys, got them going, this. I'm not blaming him. It was a team effort, but he didn't step up, the
only person he should have argued with was probably the head coach and said, why the hell are we still throwing the ball? Speaking of Brady's first game on Fox will be Dallas versus Cleveland. I would imagine the ratings will be a little higher because this will be Brady's first game as an analyst, Jack.
There's a commercial. You never get a chance again to make a first impression. So it's important Brady knocks it out of the park. People are going to be looking at Brady. There are going to be a lot of people who are going to want him to fail too. People are fickle in certain ways. And the players around the NFL really admire Brady. Brady's going to have to criticize at certain points. He's going to get players annoyed at him. That's part of the job. You can't be happy-go-lucky. If a guy makes a bonehead play and you make excuses for him, that's not going to go over well. Yeah. And one thing about Tom Brady, he's so meticulous in the way he prepares. He prepares very, very hard. I'm sure he's working as hard to be ready as a Fox analyst as he did as a player. Really meticulous. Tom Brady, when he came to the Patriots as a 6th-round draft choice, there were a couple of other people ahead of him on the depth chart, but he would be in the film room studying, even though it didn't look like he would get into games in the beginning of his career.
I agree with that. Another former future Hall of Famer, anyway, Jason Kelce will be on the Monday Night Countdown to our pregame show. He will also he's slated to be at a halftime of the conference championships and the halftime of the Super Bowls. Fox has a Super Bowl. Not Fox. ESPN has a Super Bowl this year. So Jason Kelce pretty much already has his dance card full. I think he's going to be a fun, entertaining guy, Jack.
I think he's going to do great because something about his personality. When the Eagles were playing the Buffalo Bills in the game, he's in Buffalo. He joins them for the tailgating. Then it's freezing. He takes his shirt off and goes into the crowd, and they're yelling, "Jason, we love you." Bill fans there. So, just something about Jason Kelce, just his personality. I think it'll be John Madden-like, where the common person's going to relate to him. Like he goes by the McDonald's drive-thru, and he likes to pick up breakfast there in the Philly area. And one of the workers, he drops off one of his jerseys signed by her because she's a fan of his. And you see Kelce has a big smile on her face, and she gets a kick out of it. And he's a fun guy. I think he's going to do really, really well.
I agree with that. So we got some a story about when Jason Fields was with the Chicago Bears, Jack. And
the way KC was playing. No, I'm corrected. Not when the Eagles played at Buffalo. When KC played at Buffalo and he was supporting his brother Travis, he was there.
Right.
Let me correct that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
In the Bears quarterback room, there was a lot of problems. Justin Fields did not want to listen to the two vets there. Didn't want to listen to Dalton. Didn't want to listen to the Eagles' great
Nick
Foles. Right. And he was uninterested. And I guess I could see why, because even though they played in the NFL, they really weren't. I mean, you had Foles with that one Super Bowl. Didn't play well after that. You had Dalton, who played in a lot of playoffs, good second-string quarterback. And Fields was just disinterested in anything they had to say. Now I see why the Bears moved on from him as fast as they did. And I imagine the Steelers are hoping that when he's talking to Russell Wilson, at least he listens a little bit and doesn't try to do his own thing when he gets on the field.
Well, I mean, okay, first off, Andy Dalton was a starter for a lot of years with the Bengals. He would constantly take them to the playoffs, and they'd constantly get eliminated. He was a good, solid quarterback, but not one who is going to get a team over the top. He was kind of a little bit like a David Carr type. You know, he'd have good moments. Maybe you could win with them, but you're not going to the next level with a guy like that, you know, as your franchise quarterback. But Dalton was good for a number of years, okay? Yes. So kudos to him. And Nick Foles did step in for an injured Carson Wentz and led the Eagles to a Super Bowl. I mean, he hasn't been a career starter per se, but he has a lot of wisdom. And Nick Foles was loved in the Eagle locker room. Even Carson Wentz, who didn't have a good relationship with a lot of people, got along with Nick Foles, you know, when he was with the Eagles. And the idea that Justin Fields maybe wasn't listening, was it a competition? Did Justin Fields come in figuring, look, this is competition. These guys can't be my closest friends because I'm competing with them for a job. What happens if he takes that attitude? Is that such a terrible thing? I mean, but it's up to the coaches to lay the groundwork down. Mm-hmm. If they tell a quarterback who was drafted, you're going to back up this year, you're going to learn from him, then that quarterback should soak in every bit of knowledge. But if there's a quarterback competition, why should you be buddies with the other quarterback? You have to be respectful of him, nice to him, cordial to him, but that's about it. So why should Justin Fields, you know, say, oh, I'm going to let Russell Wilson take me under his wing? Why should he necessarily do that? Russell Wilson's been known to be a bit of a prima donna. And when he was with Seattle, he was said to be detached from the other players. And the one thing about a quarterback, Mac, that's different from any other position on the team, you've got to be a leader of all the players, not just on offense, but on defense. You come around to the guys on defense, you talk to them, you make them feel good, like, you know, that you appreciate their support, them getting you the ball back. You know, you guys mean so much to our success here. Keep doing it. And you want the guys on defense to do it for you. You want them to do it for you.
I understand what you're saying. But that's not the same as a leader. I mean, a leader on defense is, you know, he's leading the defensive players. I mean, I think that's a little different. But I understand
team
what you're
leader.
saying.
I'm talking about team leader.
I understand what
Listen,
you're saying.
the guys on the Jets, for example, when Aaron Rodgers came there, they were in awe of him. They were looking, wow, we're on the same field as Aaron Rodgers, that he's a leader, he's this, he's that. And the encouragement that he gives means a lot to those guys, especially if you have a franchise quarterback. It's important for all members of the team to be encouraged by him. Like when we were talking about a little while ago, the Patriots, Tom Brady, when they won the Super Bowl, when Malcolm Butler intercepted that pass against Seattle, you hear on tape after the game, the Patriot players gathered, and Tom Brady says, Malcolm, are you kidding me? That probably resonated more with Malcolm Butler. He got more kick out of that and told people, yeah, Tom Brady says to me after the game, you know, as opposed to other guys on defense.
Yeah. Okay. I definitely know the quarterback should be supporting the defense and encouraging them anyway. Let's get to the draft. And, you know, this is the Patriots and the Giants, both in the same boat. They both need a quarterback. The Giants, anyway, had a chance to get, and so did the Patriots, Penix Jr. They had a chance to get J.J. McCarthy. They had a chance to get Bo Nix. They passed up on all of these quarterbacks and said the Giants don't want competition for Daniel Jones, I guess, for some reason. And the Patriots take a quarterback that needs a lot of work, according to Jared Mayo, during the practices. And here you have three quarterbacks that could be, maybe not, maybe so, NFL ready their first year. Big mistake by both teams. I think that, you know, why are you picking up a quarterback when you need a quarterback that you have to work on for 3 years before he starts? Maybe he never starts. Maybe it's another Mac Jones. I don't know. I'm saying that was a big chance Jared Mayo took. I know the Giants have been influenced by their owners. Daniel Jones is their quarterback this year, but not to get him competition, Jack, not to pick up a Penix, to me was foolish. And they get a wide receiver, which was great. I'm glad they got Malik Neighbors. Could be a number one receiver. Still needs a quarterback to get him the ball. And the Patriots don't pick up a receiver, which they in dire need. Two major mistakes by both the front offices, Jack.
Yeah, well, first off, Mac, we don't know how these teams are grading quarterbacks. You're saying, oh, they could have picked up Penix, they could have picked up Bo Nix, they could have picked up J.J. McCarthy. Maybe they don't think those guys are so good just because they're the best. Mac, I'm going to say there's going to be a draft next year, okay? And maybe none of the quarterbacks are going to be considered outstanding prospects, but one of them is going to be the number one college quarterback. And just because of that, he's going to be in demand because someone could draft him. But he might not be a guy reportedly, Mac, reportedly. And I don't know how accurate this is. The Giants wanted to move up to get Drake May.
No,
it could just be rumors, okay? Yes. And also, as far as Daniel Jones goes, the jury is still out. You get the feeling the Giants want to give Daniel Jones one more year. This is it. One more year to see what he can do before moving on from him. But I will say this to your point. If they were going to make a change, if they liked any of the quarterbacks a lot, if they liked Penix, McCarthy, and Nix a lot, if they did, this was their opportunity to grab a top college quarterback, because next year we don't know where the Giants are going to be drafting.
Really?
Let's assume they improve somewhat, not great, and they go number 12 overall. Number 12, you're not going to get one of the top college quarterbacks then at number 12. You probably won't. Who knows how the draft is going to play out next year. So, but immediate need as well. Malik Neighbors is great value. I mean, he's going to be the Giants' number one receiver this year.
I don't disagree with that, Jack. All I'm saying is you have the tape. You met with the quarterbacks. I know the Giants met with J.J. McCarthy. I know they met with the other quarterbacks, and they said they were good meetings. All I'm saying is if you're the Patriots, and I know Brissett is your quarterback right now. He's at least for 1 year. Why don't you pick up a Penix who could start for you the following year? Same thing with the Giants. If you get rid of Daniel Jones, you have a quarterback ready to step in. And to me, I believe there's politics involved in this, Jack. I really do. I think it has something to do with the owners in the Giants. I think it has something to do with the owners, with Robert Kraft. Kraft probably met May, thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I think that a lot of times the owners don't let their people do their own jobs. And I especially with the Giants, and I think Robert Kraft is a very strong owner too.
Well, the thing about Drake May, he wasn't expected to start this year. We knew before the draft that Drake May would be a work in progress, but the Patriots it would seem that they're willing to rebuild. But then again, Robert Kraft expects them to contend for playoff positions. So that's a contradiction right there. Also, Robert Kraft prides himself in having personal relationships with these quarterbacks. Right. Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady, they're like sons to him. Even though Drew Bledsoe left the Patriots after he'd been part of their team that won one Super Bowl with Tom Brady replaced them, they continue to have a great relationship. And that says a lot to Robert Kraft. It's more than just wins and losses to him. He likes these players as people, okay? And Drake May comes across maybe as a nice, polite, clean-cut kid, and maybe it influenced him. But I have a hard time. With that said, Mac, I have a hard time believing that Drake May was forced on the Patriots to be selected by Robert Kraft. That Robert Kraft said, no, I want you to take Drake May. He may have said, I prefer Drake May, but I can't imagine him giving an order meddling that way. You know, the owner with the biggest image of meddling is Jerry Jones. Biggest image. I'm not saying he does. And when years ago, when Johnny Manziel was coming out of the draft, Johnny Manziel from Texas, Jerry Jones was so hot on Johnny Manziel, he badly wanted the Cowboys to draft him. And he went around this draft room, and his own son said, no, we want Zach Martin. And he got annoyed. So Jerry Jones was asking everyone, who do you want? Who do you want? Who do you want? They were all saying Zach Martin, and he was steaming. He was steaming. And he, you know, but he allowed it to Cowboys to draft Zach Martin, who's going to go to the Hall of Fame someday. Great God. Johnny Manziel, blame now.
Let's talk a little NHL results. Bruins force a game 6, win 2-1. Edmonton wins 3-2. A very physical game. So anyway, those were your two winners last night. Really didn't watch anything but the highlights this morning, and that was very quickly. So anyway, it looks like a couple game 6s are coming up. Jack, boxing news. The Usyk camp is mocking Fury's skinny appearance as he drops a lot of weight for this fight. They say maybe he's worried, maybe he's going to cancel the fight again. Me and Frank talked about this Monday night. He's taking Usyk for now. He might change his mind, and before the fight,
he'll take
I'm
credit.
taking Fury.
Whoever wins, Frank will take credit.
Yeah,
he'll take credit.
I pick Fury. I pick Fury in the decision. I think Fury's got the reach advantage. And even if Usyk does get inside, which will be very hard, Fury do what Muhammad Ali did and kind of wrap him up and hold him up. And I think that will be his defense when Usyk gets inside. I think Usyk will be a good fight, I think. But I think that Fury wins in the decision, Jack.
I like Usyk to win a close decision in the fight. The Fury camp, there's always turmoil. His dad, John Fury, headbutted someone in the Usyk camp. Headbutted him out of nowhere. He should be taken to jail. If you all of a sudden butt a guy out of nowhere, that's an assault. John Fury should have been taken to jail for that.
Yeah,
and at the very least, he shouldn't be allowed to come to the fight and be involved there. He should be detached. He shouldn't be allowed to get away with it. But John Fury came off worse with the headbutting because he had his own gash in his head as a result of that. And Tyson Fury slimming down, all it does is it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be better. Some fighters are just big men. I remember with George Foreman, the second coming of George Foreman, people would be looking at his weight, and someone around Foreman would say, George is a big man. Losing all the weight as a heavyweight and forcing yourself to lose it doesn't mean you're better. If you're heavyweight, sometimes it's better to carry the extra weight. As long as you train hard and you're eating sensibly, don't worry about your weight if you're a heavyweight. And I wonder how much Tyson Fury has left. No doubt he's trained hard for this fight, but there was so much inactivity between fights. And Usyk has been training for this for so long. He's so focused. And Usyk is so mentally strong. Fury outwardly seems tremendously confident, the way he talks, the way he boasts. But it's Usyk is the one who strikes me as just being a little more focused. And Fury said something the other day, too, that's interesting. He said, and he was being honest. He said, people aren't going to like to hear this, but I fight strictly for the money. I don't fight for legacy. I don't fight for glory. I'm fighting strictly for the money. I win this fight, I could get more the next one and more the one after that. That's my motivation. And I remember the legendary Madison Square Garden matchmaker Teddy Brenner said years ago, when fighters fight for the money, they're never as good. When they fight for the money and they're not fighting for the glory, if it's strictly a business thing, you're not going to be as focused. You're not quite going to put out as much. Even football, we were talking about, Mac, a little while ago. Dan Reeves, when he was the coach of the Denver Broncos and they went to the Super Bowl, to motivate the team, he dumped a whole bunch of money on the table for everyone to look at what they can get. And then afterwards, he said, that doesn't motivate players at all. He thought it might. It's the glory of winning. They say getting the ring, being a champion. that's your motivation, not that you have some extra money, because money comes and goes, but legacy stays forever.
Well, before we check out, a little over, but that's okay. I think Fury was totally embarrassed by what happened to him when he fought the MMA fighter,
Ngannou.
getting knocked down, being that close a fight. I think he was more embarrassed when Joshua knocked him out in the first round. I think Fury's fighting for something. I don't think he's just fighting for money this time, Jack. I think he wants to. Yeah, I think I think he wants to show the world that he is a lot better fighter than that. And again, I know you're taking Usyk. So far, Frank ass Usyk. I think Fury fights a hell of a fight and wins. And let's just see.
I wouldn't be surprised if Fury won. I wouldn't be shocked if Fury even stopped Usyk, late in the fight. I wouldn't be shocked if Fury shows up in top form. He's a bigger guy than Usyk. He's an exceptional talent, Fury, when he's at his best. Okay.
Right.
But Usyk's got this great amateur background. He's so focused. But size could matter. Because Usyk, even though he's a legitimate heavyweight now, he's not a big one, and Fury's a massive one.
Yes, it's going to be Usyk's technical, the way he fights technically, great fighter technically, against Fury and his long reach and maybe extra motivation. Should be a great fight, Jack. Maybe worth paying the price for this time. So
yeah, it's a good show. All in all, it's a good show that they have on the zone. Not a great one, but a good one. And I'd say it's worth the pay-per-view price. Right.
And there's not too many of those around anymore. Folks.
No, the Saudis are delivering them, okay? They need so much, they've given boxing a big boost.
All right. Folks, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back live on Friday. Tonight, a lot going on Roku channel. Of course, Coffee and Sports right after us. We have the Northeast National Professional Streaming Sports on. We got on J&B Talking Shop with Byron Williams. We've got a lot of shows on Roku and on YouTube. Go ahead and go over there, tune it in, and of course, download that free Roku app to get all your Roku shows. Have a great one. We'll see you soon.